Hi, I'm Sue Lynn. I'm a women's health and hormone naturopath, and today I'm talking about premenstrual syndrome, PMS. PMS stands for premenstrual syndrome, which affects around 40% of women in their fertile years, and up to 8% of these women will have PMS that's so severe it affects their quality of life. It's a multidimensional condition and it's different for every woman. So this means we have different PMS types. And the key to normalizing your menstrual experience and treating your PMS is first of all knowing which type you have. Each type will have a dominant symptom, for example, anxiety, food cravings, or weight gain. We tend to think about the hormones involved in PMS as just being reproductive hormones, but when you think about it, estrogen and progesterone are often involved in PMS, but they also have important effects on your brain chemistry. So they have the potential to influence the way that you think, feel, and behave. With my clients, we work through symptom diaries to determine what the dominant type is. Sometimes you can have more than one type, sometimes you might even have them all. When it comes to treating PMS, you can't use the same herbs for every woman. There's no one size fits all, and the treatment needs to be tailored to the individual. Listen in and I'll give you an overview of the different types, as well as an idea of how prevalent they are and what to look out for in case you think you might have them. Anytime you want to get started working on your hormonal health, send me a message and we can get working on your hormones. So here they are. Premenstrual syndrome type A involves mainly anxiety and irritability, but also shifting mood and just a general sense of nervous tension. This is the most common type of PMS. Some sources estimate it to be around 80% of PMS sufferers experiencing this type of PMS. And it can be triggered and aggravated by our lifestyle, our relationships, family, and job. When I'm working with women who have PMS type A, I always get an assessment of their blood estrogen and progesterone, because often the progesterone will be too low in relation to the estrogen. Sometimes there can be increased sense of vulnerability here and maybe even angry outbursts. I think it's really important to look beyond just estrogen here into stress response and adrenal function. And before even beginning treatment, I recommend meditation, calming daily rituals, and getting enough sleep as well. Basically, taking the pressure off your stress management system, which in naturopathic terms we would call the HPA axis. PMS type H, this is all about fluid retention. And this is the one where if you go up a clothing size before your period, you know you have this type. There can be swelling in the extremities, the breasts can become very tender, and generally there's a lot of bloating. This is actually the second most common type, and what's driving it is retention of water and salt. Women who experience this type of PMS may often have swollen feet, swollen ankles, maybe even a reduced threshold to pain. And there can just be a general sense of heaviness in the body. I always look at adrenal function and kidney function because the function of the kidneys and adrenals is strongly related to the types of hormones that make you retain water and salt. And often I'll ask for aldosterone levels to be checked. Diet is really important for this type, so curbing salty foods, caffeine, and smoking are really important things to do. PMS type C. This is characterized by food cravings, especially sweet cravings. And so there is a change in appetite here. Sometimes headaches and fatigue can occur as well, likely related to the sugar intake. What are the foods that you would be craving? Mainly refined carbohydrates, even just straight out carbohydrates like pasta and bread. And because of that increased intake in these refined sugars, you get more metabolic symptoms. Things like hunger, getting irritable if you don't eat, and dizziness. Sometimes there can be migraines. Give me a thumbs up or a yes in the comments if you yourself have experienced PMSC, and maybe even share the types of foods that you crave just before your cycle begins. Is it chocolate, cake, crisps? I've heard it all. It's probably the one I see most in my PMS clients. And so what I'm looking for with PMSC is headaches, shakiness, irritability. That comes with that poor regulation of glucose in the body. I'll always assess things like insulin function, stress tolerance, and magnesium levels for this type. PMS type D is all about low mood. So this is the depressive type of PMS. There can be crying, weepiness, and confusion and sleep disturbance as well. This is a really tough emotional type of PMS. It's the least common. However, it can deepen and worsen into a condition known as PMDD, which is much more serious in the level of depression and withdrawal, and really does need more careful monitored attention. Neurochemistry is important to consider in this type of PMS. Some other symptoms like sadness, forgetfulness, social withdrawal, lack of interest in daily life, a lot of these can be improved by normalizing neurochemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and GABA. You're looking at a range of hormones involved in this one: estrogen, progesterone, even androgens in some cases. And finally, PMS type P is the pain type, characterized by cramping, backache, and general aches and pains. This isn't necessarily a hormonal condition. It's more of an elevated inflammatory prostaglandin state. There can also be nausea and vomiting in this type of PMS, especially when it becomes more severe. The treatment for the pain type of PMS really does need to be an anti-inflammatory protocol made specifically for the individual. Here are the risk factors for PMS according to research. Being overweight or obese increases the risk of PMS, with each 1 kilogram per meter square increase in BMI associated with a 3% increase in the risk of PMS. Caffeine is often thought to be associated with PMS, but some studies suggest that it isn't. Alcohol, on the other hand, is definitely associated with an increased risk of PMS, especially if drinking heavily. Stress is a trigger to PMS, and having deficiencies in certain neurotransmitters that are more calming can also be a risk factor for PMS. Certain vitamin deficiencies play a role, such as vitamin B6, and deficiency in magnesium and calcium may also be risk factors for PMS. Typical symptoms of PMS are anxiety, low tolerance, and irritability. These are probably the earliest symptoms. Low self-esteem, flat mood and mood swings, bloating, and breast symptoms. There are actually over 200 symptoms which have been reported in literature. You need to be having these symptoms in the luteal phase, and specifically in the lead up to the first bleeding day. Otherwise, you're not necessarily looking at PMS. There's something else likely to be going on. Typically, women will have the same PMS symptoms in each cycle. So you may be wondering now what type of PMS you have and very keen to find out. I can definitely help you with the treatment of your PMS when it comes up. But if you'd like to get started, there is a PMS diary that you can download from my website, and you can use that over the course of the next cycle to determine which type you predominantly have. Head to herbalwell.com.au and scroll down to the bottom of the homepage and you'll find it there. It's called the PMS Detector Checklist. Get in touch when you're ready and you want to start working on your hormonal health. Have a great day.